So
Okay, so well, like the whole thing about the, the tattoos on her
Oh,
forehead.
yeah.
well, okay,
The
well,
elf's
we're just
forehead.
completely jumping into this shit then.
Yeah. So just start
So,
talking. I mean,
well, yeah, but what brought up this conversation? Like, was it because
I just said what the fuck's all over her forehead, and
Yeah, but
You-
people don't know what we're talking about.
well, it was.
it was in
I started
Dragon
playing up
Age.
Dragon Age Inquisition, and then they
Yes.
had facial tattoos, which was a standard because I was a pre-built face. I didn't make that face.
Oh, okay.
That face itself had some tribal esque tattoos.
It looked
Yeah.
like almost like a tree
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah,
it's
like
supposed to be mimicking
Yeah.
a tree.
well, like
And I said,
You're
they're
imitating.
always supposed to be like that, just because they have fucking pointy ears. It's like no,
no, it's well,
the
many.
whole, the whole
Many,
idea of like
many cultures have that type of situation.
Yeah.
Like tribal tattoos. Ah,
Jesus.
well,
I-
it's not the tattoo. It's the fact that
well, that is a stereotype. Well,
that
like,
elves have a stereotype that's like they're always religious and they never sway
Well,
away from their religion.
in fantasy, yes, but in modern day, it's more of a like this is a criminal. So like that's I don't know which. I think in Inquisition it was more getting both lines across because depending on who you talked to, it was more of a spiritual situation. Um, and then others, it was more of a criminal situation because elves in human cities had a impoverished area, and they were typically designated as criminals.
Well, then you can get into the fact
They
that
weren't designated as criminals. They were designated as a second-class citizen, but because of them being impoverished, they had to do many immoral and illegal things,
well,
causing them to be.
but
criminals.
then you could get into Elder Scrolls the way their elf
Oh, yeah.
classes are.
What?
There's,
How?
there's higher elves and then there's also dark elves. Dark elves are
But that also
considered like the underbelly, the ones that nobody likes.
well,
Everybody
that's
hates
in
dark elves.
Skyrim. It
That's
depends on what country you're in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah, it's
like
straight up
Elder
depends on
Scrolls,
what. Except for snow elves and Dwemer,
Yeah.
because they both got fucked, no matter where you are.
Well, the Dwemer fuck themselves.
Yeah. Well, did the Dwemer actually fuck themselves, or did they?
Yeah, because they were trying to, was it recreate Orcon or some shit?
They were. My limited understanding
'Cause
of it is
from what I understand, they all, inadvertently, I think that would be the word, got sacrificed, or they sacrificed themselves to recreate something or to obtain ascension or ultimate power or whatever.
kind of like what the ancients did in Stargate.
Yeah. Well, they straight up ascended.
Yeah, basically, because I feel like that the Dwemer didn't actually die. Like I feel like they're still present in a way. Granted, that's my personal point of view. Granted, all the snow elves technically still exist. They're just Falmer.
Well,
Well, in a way, they're more of a Falmer are more of a devolved version.
they were intentionally
kinda like
devolved because they were poisoned by the Dwemer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While there are some snow elves that actually retain, like, they weren't poisoned. I don't know if there still are any, or if the ones from Dawnguard are actually the last one.
I think the way Dawnguard wrote it. Granted, I didn't deep dive into that.
Okay.
They wrote it as those were the last ones.
That sucks.
I think I didn't deep dive into that one as much.
It would make sense, but like I think it was Daggerfall or Morrowind, probably Morrowind. They I don't know his name, but he was
AoE?
a Dwemer.
Or not AoE. God damn it. In Elder Scrolls Online, you mean?
No,
In
in the actual game. They the main character happened upon a Dwemer, an actual Dwemer. He was one of the bad guys in the main storyline. So that might mean that there could be other Dwemer out there.
if that was the case, which I'm not doubting you, that would mean. I mean, because if the snow elves had some where they weren't poisoned, it could be a similar situation where, because some of the snow elves, I think, if I'm remembering right, one of them was good,
Yeah.
one of them was bad. So
Because they were brothers or something.
I believe so, yeah. If that was the case, then that would mean the same thing with the Dwemer. Some of the Dwemer realized, oh, we fucked up. We shouldn't have just fucking committed genocide. Like, so, but granted, nothing other than that one moment that I know of, that you speak of,
Yeah.
has ever mentioned Dwemer other than in the past tense.
Oh, that's true. Well, I mean, it could be the case with the snow elves because nobody fucking knew they were alive.
True.
I don't know
The
how
only reason-
extensive the Dwemer Empire was.
I think it was throughout.
All of Tamriel?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because they could.
Well, because that's kind of how Tolkien kind of wrote his stuff, which is what generally most elven and dwarven culture or
Like multiple
fantasy.
colonies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they typically kind of rely on,
Yeah.
because it was written relatively solid. For the most part, there's not too many like loopholes or anything.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, is that the elves were the first chosen, and then the gods more or less got bored. And like how the second child was always favored.
Mhm.
That's more, or the last child is more or less favored.
Mhm.
Because if I'm not forsaken, is that that I think it was elves and then humans, and then dwarves only existed because a god of crafting went off on his own and made them himself. The other two were more or less agreed upon by everybody else. If I'm remembering right, I need to reread it because it's 366 pages of fucking lore.
Yeah.
And it's been a while, but I think that's the overall general idea. God damn, you guys have noisy chairs. I don't know. Like, elves, I think they've more or less gotten, in all typical lore, forgotten about by the gods. Because, in a way, I don't want to hard set that on forgotten.
Yeah.
Because the gods more or less like, oh hey, we just created this new thing, and they're trying to baby and nurture this new thing, and since this new thing has such a short lifespan, it feels like that new thing has
More value, maybe.
been more valued throughout their time
Yeah.
than what the elves have, which the elves have more of an eternal-esque life to them, so they feel more forgotten throughout time of their being. And then the humans feel more empowered and more chosen in a way by the gods, so they.
Well, in a way that it might affect also their population too, since they live so
Well,
long.
yeah, because
just because of the fact that they don't think, oh, we don't need to procreate, we don't need to.
Humans more or less breed typically in the fantasy sense like rabbits.
Yeah.
But the god thing, I know that happens in a lot of fictional works. Like the god or gods would make however many races, and then they'd be like, "Fuck it, hands off. Let's watch this shit."
Yeah.
But I don't. Well, okay, I guess they kind of did a little bit in Tolkien's work, because I'm assuming that's what we're all kind of more or less ended up judging everything off of,
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
They ended up kind of going laissez-faire, or whatever the fuck it's called. they went that way with the humans a little bit because the humans have less magical ability, and the only reason why the elves have such magical abilities is because they're more directly connected to the gods. And then they kind of just digress from there, and then all of Tolkien's work, I believe, have decreased in magical potential since, like, The Hobbit, it has dragons and shit. And as far as I know, granted, I haven't dropped the money on all the sets yet. The Lord of the Rings trilogy do not have dragons, but they do have the big bad fucking elven Dark Lord who followed directly in the steps of. I guess he's technically not elven, actually. He's kind of similar to how kind of Gandalf was. Gandalf's more of a demigod.
Yeah.
But like
there were 5 wizards, right?
Yes. Then they're all basically angels that got sent down with with old age looking because it brings upon the visual and mental aspect of having wisdom, and they were meant to lead and give wisdom to I believe the race of men, if not both. And they what was it though? Oh yeah, how Saruman was basically like a direct follower of Sauron. I think I have those words right.
Yeah, Saruman.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, no, the original Dark Lord. Give me a second.
Saruman, the Digimon, yeah.
No, the original Dark Lord.
Saruman, Digimon 2.
Yeah.
No, the original Dark Lord. What's his name? God dang it, I can't remember his name.
OG number 1.
Saruman.
I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm gonna have to look it up because I mentally can't handle looking it up in the book.
And you've also got, there's all these different elf races you could look at, all these different elf, material and stuff you could base your opinions off of. Like I had mentioned before in this podcast about the fact that Witcher, that's a thing, and also the fact that World of Warcraft also has night elves, blood elves. I mean, they have their elves too. They all have their own special, little quirks and little things that they can do for their class. But again, everything harks back to
Melkor. I remembered it. Thanks to Google. Yeah, no, dude. Like, if you deep dive like into the lore behind it, Lord of the Rings is so much more fucking girth to it than what the movies, games, anything is.
I believe it.
If you like deep fucking dive, like read the fucking Silmarillion, fucking every single fucking book, and then have other people sit there and read it, dude, it's so fucking beautiful.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that and that's what I hope they do a lot with. And this is just kind of getting back to the same point, is with this new Witcher show coming out. I hope they...
Which I feel like it might be good.
Well, I think so too, because the fact that Henry, the guy who played Superman...
Which I don't think he ever gave a bad performance. It's just he got dicked over with the mustache.
Well, but
mainly
he played Witcher. He played all 3 Witcher games, and he played Witcher 3 times through.
The real question is did he read the books?
Yes. He also read all the books. Okay. He said he loves the lore, he loves all that stuff. He said going through this movie or this show is basically like going through it with a different skin. Okay. He said because he feels like they're getting so much into the lore. Which brings me to my point, is the fact that I hope they involve so much of the Witcher lore into the show that, they don't just think, oh, we'll just have only action all the time and that's all we'll do. See, and that's where I think Lord of the Rings kind of got hurt because of the fact that there's so much girth and so much to chew on when it comes to Lord of the Rings and their backstory and their lore that I don't think the movies did it justice. You know, whether it was Hobbit or Lord of the Rings.
If
movies.
you read the books, no.
Yes, exactly. Games. I mean, Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War.
Which I think went further into it than.
Yeah, it went further into it, but there was still so much more they could have done. But again, there's so much there to cover that how could you possibly get all of that in? You know, these movies would be. You'd have to have at least 5 or 6 more movies at least.
Oh, yeah. This
have
one
every
book,
little piece of lore and cram as much as you can to get people convinced that holy shit, this is a huge fucking universe.
If they wanted to, they could have made an entire movie off of the Silmarillion, which they will be eventually. I can't remember the exact release
What's
dates.
the next Lord of the Rings movie coming out? There's one coming out.
It's part of the Silmarillion.
Well, because there's more Lord of the Rings coming out because it's going to be along the same timeline as the new Matrix movies coming out.
It's
the next 3 Matrix movies.
It's I think 2020, if I remember right, is the first section of the Silmarillion. They ended up breaking the Silmarillion down to 3 chapters. So, don't quote me on that. I haven't looked it up. I haven't paid much attention to it because, like, I will watch it whether it's shit or not. Because Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite universes ever. Granted, do I know as much as I technically should for it being my favorite? No. Not at all. Could I know more? Hell yeah. I own the Bible. I literally own the Bible for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this goes all the way throughout all of Lord of the Rings' timeline.
Now, see, and that's the thing too, is that, you know, it's like I'm very keen on Marvel and DC Comics and Dark Horse.
That's for fucking sure.
And Dark Horse Comics, you know, but do I know every single character? Do I know all their backstories? No, I don't. There's a lot of them that I just don't care to because I don't think they're very interesting in the first place. You know, when I went through the encyclopedia and saw all these different characters, all their backstories, and I'm thinking, holy shit, didn't even know they existed in the first place.
Yeah.
Why does that character exist? That's kind of stupid. You know, just that whole idea that there's whole backstory of all these characters that are all connected, but you just don't know because you choose your favorites and you stick with them, and you want to learn more about the character because your human mind can only contain so much information and only pull so much in. So you almost kind of categorize it for yourself to make it easier for yourself to understand. So you choose, you know, what you like here and there and just stick with it and learn more about that specific thing.
Unless you're reading from Criminal Minds.
From what I understand about the DC and Marvel comics is a lot of characters will have like an arc or 2 for their print runs, and then they're done because they didn't get a lot of ratings or whatever.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. It's like an old story with thank you. There's an old story with, like, you know, Stan Lee and Spider-Man. Spider-Man almost wasn't a thing, and it was like literally a last minute thing. You know, that he said, well, it wasn't planned. He said, I just put it in there at the last minute, and they saw it, they reviewed it, and they said they loved it. And Spider-Man from then on just became a huge thing.
I thought it was Spider-Man was Stan Lee's like baby. Like I thought he was his favorite. Like
it might have been his favorite, but that's when he chose to. You know, it was something they didn't tell him to work on. It was his idea, and that's right there is when he became like a, oh shit, this guy's amazing.
It was his own idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then if it's his own, like, okay,
him and Jack Kirby with Marvel Comics.
Well, okay, let's say like.
But Captain America and Fantastic Four, or I should say Captain America, Human Torch were the first characters they ever made.
Well, like, okay, so we come up with the first character that we've ever made. Like you come up with Captain America, you come up with who do you want?
Wait, what?
Your first character in DC or Marvel? Sorry.
Marvel?
Yes.
Like choosing an already.
Just who's your favorite? Just who's your favorite?
Fuck, Iron Man.
Okay, you come with Iron Man. You come with what? Captain America?
Wolverine.
Hell
yeah!
Yeah, no shit.
Oh
and then I come up with fucking Thor. and then we all kind of come together and we're like, okay, we learn from our mistakes from these, and then we come up with this amazing character who is relatively relatable to almost anyone and everyone, because he's a middle class, if not borderline fucking poor, broke ass motherfucker who, granted, in the original couple of cartoons, he was more of a jock, but
Can we make him an elf so we get back on topic?
no, because this is not how this fucking goddamn shit works.
But if we hit on touch base on other stuff, I mean, we're always
Well,
gonna come back to
we're-
the thing.
The way this whole thing's going to set up is we're just going to ramble. If we all come up with something that fucking we learned from our mistakes and we nurtured those mistakes and fixed them to where they're relatable to everyone, that one character that we came up with is going to be our favorite because we fixed what we did wrong.
But again, that's my point in the fact that, you know,
It would make more money than the ones we made individually.
well, and you would do that, but then from that character, you know, you would expand. You would expand your knowledge. You want to learn more.
Yeah,
That's
make
what I'm
another
saying
one.
about, you know, with how deep the lore goes, especially with, you know, anything, any kind of brand of book. It's a book. I mean, that's where it all starts. It's where all this starts is a book. It's stories and books, and that's how, you know, fucking words on paper. Books. That's where all this starts. And whether it's, you know, Dark Horse Comics, you know, with Predator and Alien, Hellboy, Spawn, Witcher, they're Dark Horse Comics. You know, all these different things come from books, and you have to learn all these different things with the lore.
Witcher's Dark Horse?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
They adopted it pretty much.
Oh, they adopted it. Okay,
So
so,
now it's a
it
Dark
was
Horse.
its own original entity.
Well, it was, yeah, but it was always a Dark Horse Comics.
Well,
thing.
because it was more along the Dark Horse's mythos, I guess. Because Dark Horse is always fucked up.
It's always dark as shit.
I think personally I like the DC and Dark Horse mythos better because it's really dark and fucked up.
Well, yeah. Well, that goes back to what I was going to say before about when you brought that up. Is the fact that they showed 3 different dragons. I'm pretty sure you saw this. They showed 3 different dragons, and
Don't breathe.
it was Marvel. Marvel was Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, and then the second one was a dragon from Game of Thrones, and that was DC. But then Dark Horse was above that, and it showed this gnarly, fucking scary ass, horrific, demonic dragon, and that's Dark Horse. That shows you the grade that they are
those would
when
be
it comes to
the-
how dark and how detailed and how gruesome they are.
Those would be the original dragons of Lord of the Rings because they were literally like the size of mountains. Like
Yeah.
not like
They're
being
just-
able to live in mountains. They were literally the size of mountains.
Yeah.
Like they were dragons. If granted, fucking don't quote me. If I'm remembering right, from what I've read and what I've quote unquote researched, dragons were basically second from God, second from the lesser gods, because it was the Almighty God who created all the other gods, who ended up creating Middle Earth. And then all the dragons were directly underneath Malkor. I believe they were all underneath Malkor. And since Malkor was the Dark Lord, he was the original one. Like he had, like each and every single one of the lesser gods had a personality of the original over god. And Malkor just happened to have all the jealous and the malice to kind of half-ass quote the movies of the main god. They all
It kind of, and I'm not sure because I'm not a person who gets into the lore of Lord of the Rings too much because I've never been a Lord of the Rings person.
Oh, I love it.
But I'm not denying the fact that a lot of stuff stems from Lord of the Rings. I'm not denying that at all. But the way you're describing this, it sounds like he is almost in a way Hades in
Basically.
Greek mythology because of the fact that
well-
you had the gods and you had Kronos and
Yep.
you had his he ate his children.
Um,
He ate his children. Then he had Zeus, Poseidon, Hades,
everything
and all three of them killed Kronos.
Everything in
And
Lord of
Zeus-
the Rings mythos has been proven to be, in some way, shape, or form, directly influenced by certain mythoses.
Yeah, because
like,
Zeus and Poseidon tricked Hades into ruling hell.
Well, I think the Elven language is loosely based off of Norse. Sorry.
I can see that.
I
Norse
think
mythology.
it's I think it has something to do with that. I mean, I can look it up, but I don't have necessarily the mental capacity to do it.
It's just the way you're explaining it just sounds a lot like Hades because of the fact that the gods were fucking assholes. I mean, the
not
Greek
Elven.
gods were all just fucking monsters because they just didn't give a shit. Because that's the thing too, is that when those gods were born, I should say exclusively Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. From them, all the other gods were born. They were all their children because they were the three main gods.
Well,
After they killed the other gods, the
Cronus had 6 children.
okay, he had 6
Yeah.
children.
Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Rhea, and two other goddesses, I believe. I don't know their names.
Well,
I think Zeus's wife was one.
Hera? Okay.
I
That would make sense.
I think they're because the Greek mythos is a lot of inbreeding.
Yes.
A lot of inbreeding.
That's what gods are.
Zeus had
True.
9 daughters, and they were called the 9 muses.
Yeah, the 9 muses.
He had 9 daughters that were called the 9 muses, and then he had, obviously he had Hercules, and if you want to push it, he had Kratos. If you want to push it, he also had the apparently in Sparta, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you'll have to look it up maybe, but in the first 300 movie, there was that hunchback.
Yes.
Apparently, that was Zeus's firstborn son.
Ooh, I don't know about that, but can I interrupt real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
It actually looks like the Elven language was a little bit of a mixture of everything. Granted, this isn't giving me much information, but right, it says German in here. It says French. I think those are the main two. German.
Which just would make sense. I mean, if you're
Well-
honestly, if you're trying to find a way to
this
create
was
a
all
new
written in the
language-
middle of
A war.
war. Yeah.
World War One, right?
Well-
World War One is when he was writing it all, and then it all ended up getting published in between World War One and World War Two,
But honestly, what you're used to are the
I believe.
what
I'm
you're
not
used
sure.
to are the languages you're surrounded by the time.
Yeah.
If you only spoke English and Spanish, if you were to go and create a new language, like Klingon as well, you're naturally going to base it off of things you know already, and it's going to be a twisted version of that.
Well,
That makes sense.
That's how all languages made.
That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point
Not
of what
necessarily just like making up fictitious language, because
you
if
want to try to have some sort of ground to it.
well, if you look
some
at
sort
it,
of base.
Spanish and French all have similar.
Spanish and Italian. for
That's
sure.
what I meant.
Yeah.
It all came from Latin.
It's Spanish. All came from Latin.
Pig Latin.
Except I can't even half-ass it.
I think you have to be drunk to speak Pig Latin. Though.
Well, I mean, it's the language of the drunks.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily people creating languages that makes a language, because we got stuff like slang where.
Well, that's just people making up. It's a group
Well, yeah,
of people.
but they become actual words in our language. Like ain't used to not be a word, but people using ain't as slang, it became a fucking word.
Well, it's
Same thing with dissing and all
if
that.
the last time I looked up ain't, it's an uneducated version of
How many years ago was that?
a long time ago.
It was high
Well,
school or junior
high
high,
school.
wasn't it?
Now
Yeah.
here's one that goes
Well,
back for a long
Words
time.
change constantly.
Is
so.
the word gosh.
Mm.
Just the word gosh.
Yeah.
That's a slang word for God.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which in
and then people
Well,
say
substitute.
freaking or frickin'
Yeah.
or
Well,
that's
like how
just a slang for fuck.
just to use the general sense of the Christian and Jewish mythos of
Mhm.
gods, which I feel slightly like I'm offending someone with miso for that, but the it doesn't tell me.
It says who knows what's going on. So
Yeah, I know. But like
even we don't know.
the God and Allah are interchangeable easily. If you
Yeah,
if
There
you
are a
interchange
lot
them.
of similarities. Yeah.
They
Are we gonna jump into Assassin's Creed here?
no, we're not yet. That's probably a topic for fucking another day because
We'll just
It's
say
all
the
topics
fact.
for another
well
day. Come on.
because I think all of us have equal like levels of knowledge on Assassin's Creed because
People
I've
wish.
100% two and I've played most of them since then.
I've played them all except.
I haven't played
Odyssey.
the new one.
I've played Origins, but like halfway-ish through.
I haven't played Odyssey yet.
I've barely played Unity. I have.
Oof.
I've
You're
played
missing
through
out.
most of Syndicate.
Yeah, Unity's pretty.
Me
fucking
and
good.
Nick
yeah.
love me and Nick are
Well,
like
I got turned
story-
off to it.
Story wise, though,
Okay, we
I
this,
don't.
this is
I'm
gonna
just saying.
talk-
I'm just saying. Story wise, though, for Unity, I honestly can tell you I don't remember much.
Unity wasn't fun until me and Nick actually got the multiplayer to work.
I got turned
That
off
was a
to
fucking
it.
bitch.
Even though we did the only one mission that we could get to work, and we only did it over and over again, and we just had fun with it. We
It was that top heist.
it was literally just stealing a painting off the wall.
Yeah.
Well, when I played it,
But
I
let's-
didn't have access to internet at the time, so I couldn't update the game.
Oh yeah.
And I
It's
was
just-
like 10, 15, maybe half an hour in the game. It was fucking
It
terrible.
was trash.
It
Oh,
was
it was-
so
it's
bad.
bad. It was
and
so
I
bad.
never went back to it.
Well,
was so
the
bad.
game got a lot better after updates.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
then
understand.
But it took like fucking 2.5 years for that shit to actually be working order,
but
and the multiplayer was still a fucking bitch.
which I wish
Sorry, co-op.
co-op was a fucking bitch.
It was terrible.
I think we spent like 20 plus minutes trying to just matchmake between
Probably
the two of us.
half an hour.
If not more.
It
Yeah.
was a long ass time.
And also what we ended up doing was just running the same mission over and over and over again. And we're like, oh,
You've got a video. uploaded
yeah, I
on
have it.
YouTube.
I have it on YouTube.
that
Yeah,
heist we
yeah,
did.
she showed me.
Yeah.
It was just
I
that
think
was
you get like 45,000 gold. I think is what it was.
and well yeah, but that video that I sent was ended up after we played for an hour of the same mission, and we're like, oh, this is how everybody spawns,
Yeah,
and this is
this
how
the
everything
this
works.
is the pattern. Yeah.
And literally, we like knew exactly. Oh, hey, we just go through this window, and chances of us finding one is, oh, hey, found it, and we won. And it's like 30
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
Like it was so fun to actually play it together. But like a lot of the later Assassin's Creeds after that didn't have anything remotely close to that.
Yeah.
Well, and I honestly think that's where we're getting way off topic.
Well, I said this was supposed to be for
I
another
know.
fucking thing,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter at this point because
But-
who the fuck knows what's going on?
It just says who knows what's going on.
Yeah, I know. I like to add the bitch.
Can I be who?
Who fucks knows what's going on?
But I honestly think that they shouldn't have taken the co-op out of Assassin's Creed.
I don't know if they
That's-
necessarily did.
Well, that's the thing.
But they
People
did 'cause
always
it was,
say about every single video game, this would be so much fun if I could just co-op the story mode with a friend.
fucking
But
just
for Assassin's
cause.
That would be a lot of fun.
I mean, just cause is needed multiplayer
Well,
for
it's-
a long time.
It's not necessarily that it wouldn't work with a co-op. It's just that it needs to be done right.
yeah.
And not a lot of development companies that make a great single-player game can make a good co-op game.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the only issue that.
It almost seems like it has to be one or the other a lot of times.
That's what it seems like with Elder Scrolls. Cause
except for
single-player
Titanfall.
games.
Titanfall is fucking phenomenal across the board. Granted, I'm slightly biased to FPSs, but it's phenomenal because like you played through all the way through the campaign,
Mhm.
correct? Or two.
Up to it, yes.
because one didn't.
One was on Xbox, and that's
One
the reason why I didn't play.
Technically didn't really even have a campaign, but
that's one of the reasons why I didn't
well,
play.
okay.
Was I didn't
Here's the
have
better thing: the same company that made
Fucking touch
Titanfall,
me ever again.
the same company that made Titanfall made Jedi. The what is the fucking new Jedi? Sorry,
Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order. They made that,
Okay.
and I could tell because I watched a little bit of your live stream, and all what it took was me to watch you fucking try to wall run. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
Titanfall.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, I fucking love this, and I wish I had the money to buy it.
yeah.
Granted, I just spent fucking $80 on goddamn alcohol today, but I have other games that can preoccupy me.
Yeah.
But I literally, that's all it took. I'm like, who's gonna miss this jump? And you missed it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I
Yeah, 'cause
know.
you jumped way too early.
Yeah.
Well, I more or less know the Titanfall wall running mechanics basically more or less by heart. Just because I love it. It's, even though I don't play it as much as I wish I did, it's still one of my top shooters. It's one of my top favorite shooters of all time.
It was a lot of fun to play.
It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
It's solid across the board. Like, Apex. It gives you your shooting mechanics across the board. The only thing it's missing is the wall running, which it does a little bit here and there if you can finagle the buttons just right. But it still feels basically like Titanfall if you don't know how to run. Wall run. Which is 3/4 of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because if you jump into Titanfall 2 right now, and go on, because they still have an active community, like a really active community.
Yeah, it's free right now on PS4.
Yeah.
I don't need any of that because I already bought it. but
it's free.
I know, but like I tried to jump in a while ago, like maybe 2 months ago, and I'm like, oh fuck it, let's try it. I got ass blasted by people who've been playing for fucking years now, and they were like, just fucking wall running all over the goddamn place. I'm like, I felt like a fucking toddler, even though I have years of first-person shooter experience. I felt like a fucking toddler trying to play that game because of how high level the wall running mechanic is. If you start learning it, you are damn near invincible. Because there for a while in Titanfall 1, I was getting pretty fucking solid at it. And then PlayStation released something, I'm pretty sure it was GTA 5. I'm pretty sure that's when...
Probably.
So much fun.
Shut the fuck up.
Was for a good 3 years.
It was until they started fucking just not releasing anything fun. But anyway, that's a different topic. Like,
Sure.
I don't know who the fuck knows.
We're already on a different topic.
We're on like 6 different topics. How elves were slaves typically.
I didn't say anything about slaves.
Well, they're oppressed and restricted.
That's true.
Is this because I'm an elf?
Dude, don't even get me started. Elves are beautiful.
But we can get right back into that conversation though, and it's, you know, there are. But see, this goes back to like Witcher. Elves like at the brothel. The elves at the brothel, that you could go in there, you could fuck.
They're
you know?
more or less doing what they need to do to survive.
Yeah.
But
they're not following any kind of tradition. They're just like any other woman in that brothel because that's where they live. That's the kind of lifestyle they now choose, and they're not going with any kind of other.
What
lifestyle.
would happen if human lifestyle started to fucking fall apart, and then some other race, let's just say dogs, just since Steve was right there. Say dogs would somehow become sentient enough to be able to slowly start to replace humans, humans.
Or to compete with humans.
To compete, yeah. And then at some point, humans species just decides to just flatline. Those that are left, even though that they have a prolonged lifespan of like 300 some odd years.
Realistically, I don't think any race of people, or,
not on Earth.
I mean, like any species would flatline as as a race or what as a species. Or
Okay,
whatever.
so
Because of like if dogs did what you said, humans wouldn't flatline.
Are you
There would be
pulling a Doctor Who on me?
No.
To where trees became sentient?
Fuck no. Because if there was,
I mean,
if
I
that
get
happened
what
with
you're
dogs,
saying.
there would be a competition over the planet because we wouldn't flatline. Dogs wouldn't flatline. One of us
Well,
would
it
go
would
up,
be-
one of us
you're-
would go down.
you're literally talking about the same thing as Planet of the Apes.
Well, exactly.
It's the exact same
We
thing.
won't flatline unless one of us gets the upper hand and
Now,
either we revert them or they.
Which is
regress
basically
us.
what happens to the elves. They, in typical
Yeah, but
Exodus-
they fell, but then they flatline.
That's only because that's where our story picks up. That's not necessarily what happens in the future.
I mean,
Now,
that's true.
now this is something you're talking
Unless you're
about.
Solus, who's a god.
There
But that
is-
only ever happens because the one individual main character changes everything.
Well, yeah, that's because you're supposed to relate to that main character.
Well, yeah, but would all that actually happen?
It depends.
If the main character wasn't there in all of these stories, would a change ever fucking happen?
I don't know.
Okay, now that you're going to mindfuckery because of the fact that because if that main character you're talking about if he never
Technically-
existed, would in future tense would another so-called main character be born?
That's been scientifically proven to be a anomaly to where yes, it would happen.
I mean,
like
regardless, there's always going to be someone to solve the problem.
Another
there
Hitler-
will always be someone to solve.
another
the problem.
Hitler would be born. Another Martin Luther King would be born. Another Abraham Lincoln would be born. Another
Stalin, everybody, anybody.
someone will be there to fill that role. Would it be, say, okay, everything we know about Hitler erased.
Okay.
This one person rises up to power, does stuff similar to I'm drunk. Deal with
I
it.
don't know. You're about ready to throw up.
No, I just burped. Someone else rises up to power. They happen to do similar things as to what Hitler does, but without knowing how bad Hitler actually got, would we know that if they were worse or better than, or quote unquote better than Hitler? No, we wouldn't, because Hitler wouldn't have existed. So
What are you talking about?
it's
But he
That
did
doesn't re-
exist though. What you're saying is he
Well,
did
no,
exist,
because-
and then someone else took his place.
well, the hypothetical situation that is what he said, where if that character didn't exist, would any of this happen?
No, what I'm saying is, I'm saying our individual character was placed into the story
Yes.
to change it.
Yes.
What if our character was never placed into the story? Not what if we changed something
It
about
would.
the story.
It would have eventually changed. That's what I'm trying to get at. But I'm going
Yeah,
around.
because there would be someone there to eventually.
Someone.
fill that
Like,
place.
let's talk about Inquisition.
Okay.
So that main character would never have to exist because he would
Like-
be special.
If
He
the
wouldn't
main
be special.
character was never plopped into the story,
Yes.
obviously like talking about Inquisition, Corypheus's plan would have happened.
So you're.
Obviously, we changed that
So you're saying that.
just by placing them in within the fucking first
Okay,
second
okay,
of the
now,
cutscene.
okay.
Beginning
So what
cutscene.
you're saying is pretty much if you just there's something going on, you plop them in there. They have some sort of special something that
Yeah.
separates them from everything
They
else.
just-
Or
the
maybe
fiction.
not, but like
But-
their ideology or some shit.
But if they were not put into that story and something else would happen, that thing would still happen, but that same means to an end would be just happen in a different way.
That's what I'm
It would
trying
just
to say.
it would happen at a later date. It'd happen in
you're-
a different style, but it would still regardless it would still happen. You might lose more people. You might lose more in
Well,
death. You might, more catastrophe might happen.
With Inquisition, if
It
the
all
main
depends
character
on how
wasn't
fast
there,
it
it
happens.
was written in a way to where if the main character wasn't there, everybody would be fucking SO goddamn fucking L.
Yeah.
They would be literally fucked beyond goddamn belief.
literally nobody would be able to do anything because they couldn't close the rifts.
Yes, it would literally
And there would be no way to ever
what
close the rifts unless Fenrir, the god, was able to close rifts. I don't know.
Solus.
Solus.
he
I don't know.
he in theory could have been able to because he's the one who gave Corypheus the
The
orb.
orb, yeah.
Granted, I haven't deep dived too much into that.
But
DLC,
would he
but-
need the orb to do it?
Corypheus, yes. Solus, no. I do not believe Solus would have needed it. I believe Solus this entire time, as he's acting as our just humble companion mage, has actually been holding back this entire time and has just kind of been playing a more or less passive role.
Yeah.
That's why I like having him as in more of an active role, even though he doesn't seem to want it.
It's kind of like Jar Jar Binks. He acts fucking dumb and innocent and weak, but, you know, he holds back, but then it's like, oh, look, he's the almighty Sith Lord that everybody's been fearing for the past 50, 60 years.
Well, like Solus is my hands-down favorite character in Inquisition. He's written so fucking well, and you can argue it from either way, but either way, it still, in my opinion, comes up to the same point. It's like, oh, he's such a piece of shit because he ended up being the bad guy. Yeah, but he was written so well you didn't know he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, he was just this stereotypical fucking isolated elf that had his own ideals.
Fucking nerd, yeah.
And, like, as I was playing through it, I'm like, oh, I mean, I like him just because he kind of starts out on a path that I like his skill tree wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I'm like, whatever. I'd try other mages and stuff. But then, like, the dialogues and stuff wouldn't fit for me for what I wanted to happen as a story. And then the more I got through it, and then I got to the end, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so glad I kept Solus as my main, because it just seems fitting to me, because he set the whole stone in motion. He's the one who gave Corypheus his orb of basically godness, and which in turn fucked everything else in all of fucking, what is it, Thetis? Well, I'm getting shit mixed up.
I believe it's Thetis, yeah.
Is it Thetis? We've been talking about so many different mythos, so I'm getting my shit mixed up.
That's why we need to stay on topic.
That doesn't fucking happen with me and Nick. I can guarantee you that. But, like...
3:19 a.m.
Dude, we've been talking about this for at least an hour. But, like...
I think it was 2:39 when we started talking about it.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Could be wrong. But, like, it made sense that he was babysitting the main character, quote-unquote, through the whole mess, to get to an end that he wanted. Because ultimately, that's how the end boiled down to. Because he ended up killing another god, or at least half-assed killing another god to gain power.
That's pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what it's
supposed to be like. Yeah. That's
well, I mean, in like just like in Star Wars, just the whole fact that there's been so many different ideas about. There's been so many different ideas about, Darth Sidious. He every time he would die, he knew he was weak, and knew he was about to die. So then he would take he had this force power, he could go into someone else's body and possess them. So there was a theory about the fact that Darth Plagueis, when he died, he just went into Darth Sidious's body.
okay.
And took over his body, and then it's actually Darth Plagueis taking over all these different bodies, just to keep an eye on Anakin.
Okay.
Until he got to that Darth Vader point, until he turned him, And there's also the, it's not a theory, apparently it's a real thing, that Anakin was just a clone of Darth Plagueis.
Oh.
And
which would make sense considering that he started to exist during the entire Clones.
He was a false prophecy kind
That's
of
true.
thing. And apparently Luke was actually supposed to be the actual prophecy. Because technically, they said that he was supposed to bring balance to the Force, but Anakin still technically fulfilled his prophecy because he killed the Emperor.
He made it so that it was like what, two Jedi and 2 Sith alive, because his son was alive, who was Jedi, and his
Leia,
master
Leia. Because
Leia,
I will say in Force Awakens, she was a Force user.
Well,
sorry, Last
Because
Jedi.
she's since
Last
when
Jedi.
Han Solo died.
in the books,
But
I believe she played more of a role.
In The Last Jedi, she was out in space in that explosion. Then she used Force pull, and she pulled herself to the
That's
to the
right.
ship. She can use the Force. She is endowed with it. She is naturally.
I picture her more as a quote unquote gray Jedi, even though they technically don't exist. Because she doesn't use the Force to manipulate her. Try it. Just try it. Manipulate.
Not as bad as the other one.
To manipulate her way of ideals, she only ever uses the Force if she like has to in a way.
Yeah, because she doesn't train herself to use it. But my point was the fact that you were saying about how Solus was like almost manipulating the main character to get to the means that he wanted to get to, the end that he wanted. So, what I really want to.
I wouldn't say that at
No,
all.
that's what I thought you were talking about. That's kind of how you were describing
Because in the end of the game, I think the Trespasser DLC, the main character does a lot of shit that Solus didn't want him to.
Well, in the Trespasser DLC, you deal more with the fact that Solus was technically, arguably, the bad guy, the main bad guy. I haven't played it yet. That's what I'm actually going to try to work on. But you can end up romancing Solus, and Solus does stuff that you, as the main character, don't agree with. He ends up killing off like an entire squad of Kunari, who are the big horned fuckers. Just because they're basically bounty hunters and they're trying to kill him because everybody's or find him, not necessarily kill him, because everybody's like, what the fuck happened? And the Inquisition kind of more or less sends out like all these tendrils, like, hey, find him. We want to know what happened, because the Inquisition was so heavily, arguably dependent, because there's certain situations where Solus's info
was critical.
Was very critical.
Yeah.
Like the very beginning mission where Solus just grabs your hand and just thrusts it towards the rift. Your main character wouldn't fucking know what happened, but Solus, who is literally the god of the Fade, he literally is the one who designated the barrier in between the Fade and the real world.
He created the Fade, right?
Arguably, yes. I think mainly he just created the barrier between.
Okay. Yeah, he separated the Fade from.
Because originally the Fade and the real world existed in the same plane.
Okay.
And then he created the Fade barrier. I can't remember the exact name for it. He created that and ended up earning himself godhood.
Yeah.
He basically has been living in the Fade this entire time, which is where 90% of the gods exist. Which is basically eternal life. But he ended up knowing about, like, oh fuck, this is a hole in my goddamn spell, just because this orb. And he's like, oh hey, this person has a fucking hole in their goddamn hand that can seal this shit up if they just thrust it towards it and have the right mentality towards it. So he just grabs your fucking hand and thrusts it towards it and kind of implants that mindset into you of hurry before it opens and lets more out. And he thrusts it towards you, so you have this mindset of like, oh, am I supposed to be closing it? And you are mentally thinking close.
Yeah.
And it closes.
You believe that it needs to be closed, and that's...
Yes. Because I literally just got done playing that mission, so that's the only reason why I'm thinking of that. Because he literally just grabs your hand and says, hurry, now, before more come through. And you literally just, he just grabs your hand and thrusts it forward, and you're like, huh, close? Like, not necessarily the word close.
But in a way, he is technically manipulating him, so he...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gets what he wants, I mean, overall.
He's getting what he wants, yes.
But he's, like you said before, he's babysitting the main character.
He's generally passive.
Yeah.
He literally...
But he's not.
He's written...
He just makes you believe that.
He's written really well to where you're like, oh, he just isn't all-knowing... Well, he's a relatively all-knowing elf who's been... Because even as...
He's harmless and he's my friend, he's going to help me, you know.
Well, yeah, because the more you talk to him, the more you realize, like, oh, hey, he's just...
He's just some elf that dreamed a lot, who just took a lot of naps, basically.
Well, that's why I hope Jar Jar Binks is in episode 9, and he is like the big.
I'm pretty sure Jar Jar's dead.
How do you know?
You know how long it's been?
It's never showed his death.
How long has it been?
He was in episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3.
Yeah.
But from episode 3 and the whole shifting of Anakin to our current episode,
Well,
how many years has it been?
I believe 50.
Rogue One.
It couldn't have been that many, because
Rogue One and Solo happened around the same time.
Well, because not 4 through 6, right?
Yeah, that's right.
4 through 6 happened
They probably take
like
over
20.
a 10-year period, probably.
Yeah, but that's when they reached their 20s. So that's a 30-year period.
Between 6 and
3.
No, between episode 6 and episode 7. There's a good 30-year period there because
So then
Or-
overall it's 60 years.
they have to be in their 30s. They have
Yeah,
to be in their 30s
they're-
by episode 6.
They're in at least their 20s when episode 4 starts.
Just look up episode 4 and see how old Luke is.
That's what I'm doing.
And I know he says that, how old he is.
Does he?
Because they say he's like 17 or 18 or something like that.
Well, either way, Jar Jar will still have to have lived.
But
And-
they are water-based.
Like he said,
Gungans
with Darth
are-
Plagueis, he could.
Yeah, but
He can
it,
inhabit bodies.
there's no possible way it could
19.
have been Jar Jar because
He's 19?
Excuse me.
So
Um,
basically,
well-
he'll be pretty much 29 at the end of episode 6 if 10
But
years pass from 4 to 6.
There's no way physically Jar Jar could have existed because I think how long do the Gungans last? Like survive?
Live?
Yes. I'm feeling not that long.
65 years.
65 years.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
So
then
it could work.
that
Child
makes,
1 to 12, young adult 13 to 15, adult 16 to 35, middle age 36 to 54, old 55 to 64, venerable 65 plus.
okay. So I
65 plus
guess
should
it's a
be-
little.
should be 70 if they want.
What-
Yeah, but that's like us saying we're venerable.
Because how old was Jar Jar Binks?
Well, okay.
And,
Let's.
like if we're venerable, okay.
So how old is Jar Jar Binks and then related to that information there?
Well, I would say he's more like 20, no older than 20. But because he's had to live long enough to disgrace himself.
Well, and he was around with, he was around with Anakin when he was a child in episode 1, but he was also in episode 3, and he was
Yeah,
part
but-
of the Senate, which
But
Palpatine
Anakin aged
was-
different because he was on a different planet. Anakin aged stupid fast.
he's also a clone,
Touche. But he,
and I don't know how that affects him
I don't know, but
because she is a slave. She is a slave, and they're like, oh, she's a slave, because of the slave traders. She's a slave to the Sith.
He aged so fucking fast though, like literally within a movie, he was old enough to fuck.
Venerable for humans is 70 plus.
Okay.
So Gungans could theoretically live up to like 100-ish.
Well, okay, so
Okay.
then
Because we've had humans live up past 100.
We've had humans live to 110,
Yeah, exactly.
120, I think.
I think
I mean, granted, it's probably not very fun living that old.
I don't
And-
know. I don't think Jar Jar specifically as a body could exist if we're
Well,
going
yeah.
by the Plagueis route. So I don't think that he would possibly be alive.
See, that's why I get to that point where it's like Snoke. Who and why the fuck did Snoke even exist in the first place?
I don't know.
That's why I feel like.
He was Plagueis.
Well, I don't know if
He was a body for Plagueis.
I think maybe he was a body for Plagueis because of the fact that he had to take on a different identity because you can't just start walking around saying, "Oh, I'm Plagueis," because then people are gonna catch on to your what you do.
Well, yeah.
Because Sidious was even the one saying about how Darth Plagueis the Wise could do these things and use the Force to to bring people back from the dead or prevent their death. That's the exact same thing they're gonna do to him too. He's just gonna inhabit a different body and just keep doing it until everything happens. And there's a theory about the fact that he was just going to keep taking these bodies and keep taking these bodies, keep taking these bodies until everything lines up the way he wants it to. Then he'll come out of hiding and he'll strike when the time is right. And
Who
then
says Sidious is not Plagueis?
that's what I told Jordan. I said the fact that very well could have been when Sidious thought, because Sidious killed Plagueis.
Okay.
He could have. Plagueis could have been like, yes, you have earned it. Basically, like, I'm talking in a weird accent,
Yeah.
but like, he's like, you gained enough power for me to infiltrate your body and willingly use it for equivalent of power.
So episode 1 happens, then it's a 10-year time skip to episode 2, 3-year to episode 3, and then it is 19 years after that to episode 4.
So
Nobody knows between 4 and 5. Then it's 1 year to 6. Then it's 30 years to 7. No time jump to 8.
So they're saying that Annie is technically 13, or not 13, 17? 18?
Anakin?
Yeah, Annie.
We said the 10-year time jump between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So he could be 10 years old and be 20.
Yes. And then he'd be 23 for episode 3. And then you skip, what did I say, 19
Well, then
years?
Padme
Yeah.
Padme would be fucking 40. If you're going by those rules, because
Because she could have been 16.
she was legally the queen
Yes.
in 1.
Yeah.
So she was
But in 1,
yeah.
Queen Amidala, yeah.
Yeah.
Queen Amidala. Yeah.
She was the queen.
Mhm.
So she had to have been in her 20s, so he would have been having to fuck goddamn 20 or
But she could have been 16 though.
I mean, yeah, but no, because the way that
How
it
would she
looked.
not be?
Because look,
You could be young and be a queen.
Yeah, I know, but like, did you see how drastically small Annie was compared to what they were when they started fucking?
But he
Him
very
and
he
Padme?
very
Yeah,
He
they're
very
the same
easily-
person. Annie is Anakin.
Yes, yes.
Padme is Queen Amidala.
yes.
Okay.
So
But he could have been he could have been 10. She could have been 16. 10 years passed. She's 26 and he's 20.
well, the aging.
They could have fucked, and 3 years later she's 29 and he's 23. So really, it's not really too far fetched to have that be a
That
relationship.
growth-
She is 5 years older than him.
That growth
So
spurt. just-
15 right there.
Well, in episode 1, Anakin was 9. So Padme would have been 14.
That growth difference, though, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen.
I mean, a lot of time, you know as well as I do, when you hit 15 or 16 years old, you fucking sprout like a goddamn weed.
Girls do mature faster than guys.
Yes, I know, because of boobs.
Boobs.
Okay. Abuse.
It's a fact, but anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like the growth spurt he went through is rather ridiculous. I think.
Well, men are naturally going to be taller than women, anyways. But you know,
I don't think that
You
that's
could change a lot over 10 years.
yeah, a lot of people have, and when you hit 15, 16, that's when a lot of guys hit their growth spurts.
Yeah.
When they're in high school, and then 18, you're pretty much at your peak, and that's where you stop doing. All
I
your
was
growing.
constantly doing physicals my entire fucking growing up phase.
Okay.
But you also come from a father that is short, and
My entire I take after my mother's side.
There are always exceptions to every single biological rule we have.
Even my brother, my brother's going through fucking physical
Okay,
fucking changes.
then it could just
I've-
be your genes.
I've known a lot of people who don't hit that same level of growth spurt within the same time span.
How many is a lot? Is it millions?
It's at least 90.
I mean, come on, there's 7 billion people in the world.
It's at least 90.
At 90?
90, yes.
What's that ratio?
Listen, fuckwad.
and we are. I mean, and we are, and to exception, they don't have this as an explanation, but they are also talking about, you are on a different planet.
Yeah.
You are still human.
They're
They're all human still.
I feel like the growth span changes depending on what planet you're born on.
But you're also we're getting to astronomy now because of the
Well,
fact that you've got
that's not astronomy. That is the nurture versus nature, because of evolution. Humans, like on Tatooine, they would become more accustomed to living on a desert planet, and they would physically change. Where the humans on
But you're also that
there's-
also gets to the point to where how much gravity you have on the
There's
planet.
a
How big-
shitload of
that
science behind this.
because when you have more gravity on a planet, the shorter the people are going to be, the shorter the planets are going to be.
Yeah.
And over time, you evolve to adapt to that, and the taller you will get as a species. Because we, at the average height in the '60s, used to be 5.
That was just
5'4".
because death rates were shit for newborns.
If the gravity
But
is
now-
10 times of our planets, they could very easily become Saiyans. They could grow tails and shit.
You little shit.
Well, but see, that's now. But now that's
Take
but
a
that's,
sip. Shut the fuck up and take a sip. Because we all need a moment of silence for the fact that Jordan fucking decided to connect this into DVDs.
I'm okay with that.
I'm not.
You
but
should
it's-
fucking watch it.
Again, you're going down. You're getting down to that road where it's like, you got gravity on each planet, and everything grows at a different rate.
Yes.
And not every planet has has the same day cycle as well either.
There's a shitload of science behind this because.
Of course there is. We're talking about planets.
What
and how
game is
they
it?
revolve
Mass
solar systems
Mass
and
Effect
their
has
stars.
Mass Effect has its own galaxy time. It doesn't age people based off of their planetary time. It gauges people off of galaxy time. So instead of okay, so science knows how old the galaxy is. The science also knows how old the Earth is, but judges us based off of the rotation of the Earth.
Yes.
It changes
days and
it changes the aging process to galaxy time. So technically, in Mass Effect, humans don't actually last 100 and some odd years. They still last the same amount of time. They just changed their scale to galaxy time.
This is why we can't do this in the same room.
no, we can't do it while we're drinking.
I'm gonna be drinking 90%.
Because I just like when he's drinking, like.
Dude, there's bubbles.
It wasn't a burp. It was just like it's like a really gassy sigh.
Well, there's
See,
bubbles
If
from the
we
nose.
like live streamed our podcast, shit like that would be pretty funny, probably.
I think it'd be great. I mean, why wouldn't you want to have a drunk podcast? Because you'd be tipsy enough to talk
Just
about
an FYI, 90% of this is, if not all of it's going to go in. So.
Well, but if you drink enough, you're gonna have a really good podcast because you're gonna laugh at more things. You're gonna not take things seriously, but you're gonna still have enough of a fucking brain to use to talk about a serious conversation.
Yeah.
And carry it
Yeah,
on.
I'm nowhere near fucking plastered. I can still carry on.
Well,
the
yeah,
conversation.
that's my point right now. What you're at right now. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like I need like 7 more of these to fucking. be
Yeah, exactly.
Too far gone to be able to carry on a conversation.
So, it's again, you have different things you have to take into consideration.
there's
you've
too
got-
much science behind this, and none of us fucking
yeah.
passed science.
Well, yeah, but again, you've got the whole thing about.
You just agreed with me that we're all fucking retarded.
Well, yeah,
we
I
were
know.
retarded.
But it's. You're also talking about the size of the planet, how much gravity, and the stars, and the rotation, and the age, and the species of human it is. We're not all. And they might be human, but they might not actually be our kind of human.
Yeah, their DNA would.
They're still humanoid. They're still human DNA, but again, they were born and pretty much built for that planet.
Yeah.
They were born on that planet and evolved on that planet.
That's why, like, different species of
Well, Doctor
animals
Doctor Who
look
kind of
different.
replaces this.
What?
The Doctor Who kind of phrases this in a good way. Like, well, they have humans are very versatile, according to Doctor Who.
Yes.
We're one of the last species to full on exist, but that's only because we're willing to fuck anything and everything. We have we're like, oh, let's literally adapt till we can't adapt anymore.
Mass Effect.
Yes, sorry.
They are the closest thing. So
Well, the Asari is rumored to actually just be a group of tentacles and not actually those hot, sexy blue babes.
oh yeah, I know exactly.
They
Really?
Yes.
Because Saurians, I can't remember Solarians
Yeah.
think that they look just like Solarians. Turians think they look just like Turians. Krogans think they look just like Krogans. Humans think they look just like humans. So nobody knows exactly what the Asari look like. Which I'm like, I'll fuck it, like whatever.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
There's a small little section in 2 where you go up and just overhear a conversation between an Solarian, a fucking Turian, and a Krogan.
That's why you think that's because you're always playing as a human, anyways.
Yes, you're always guaranteed to play as a human.
And I forgot about that being a thing because of the fact because you see, because you're always gonna have an Asari that's a girl. They're always aren't they?
Yes,
always
they are always female.
They are always female, and they're always gonna be they're always be female, but there is there's a society of them that is like they're very
Well, I wouldn't say. I think I kind of know what you're going by. Like, there's a society of them where they can't breed without killing their host, or without killing their partner.
Yes.
It's a genetic defect according to the Asari.
Because you go to that one planet, you go there, and it's kind of horror. It's kind of horror.
Because you start coming across banshees. Because
Yes,
banshees
yes,
are
yes.
what the Reapers decide as a perfect host for this type of mutation, and then they come up with different abilities just specifically for the banshees, who are specifically Asari who have the genetic difference that the Asari consider to be a flaw.
Are they always guaranteed to be female?
Yes.
Or do they just take on
Always.
the opposite gender?
They are always considered to be female, as far as I know.
Because it makes total sense though, because you'll see in the game that you'll see Asari hooking up with Krogan, hooking up with Turian. You'll always see them hooking up with the different species because they're always all female.
Which
They're never not.
What about the females of that species?
I believe they still see them as female. I think they still use male and female pronouns for them. They still use female pronouns. This is one of my favorite fandoms.
Or is that the reason they kill their partners? Because because
they see through their disguise.
The male Asarians can't procreate with females of other species.
No, because it even happens to Shepard. Shepard starts becoming susceptible to it. In 2. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but it's one of your followers' daughter.
It's
I can't remember her name.
It's not Liara.
No, Liara is the big bad.
Yeah.
Or not big bad, big good.
Yeah, sexy.
Yes, she's the best.
Bestie.
She's kind of like a DLC character, more or less.
I'm trying to think of.
I can't think of her name off the top of my head. But anyway, this doesn't matter. The point is that Shepard becomes susceptible to her, and she has the flaw. So.
Oh, so that's not for every single Asarian?
No.
Okay.
It's it is only for a select group.
Okay.
And it doesn't seem to matter who they try to mate with. It's just whoever they try to mate with dies.
What if, like how we
here's
artificially inject semen into women? Could you do that for them too?
No, they take your genetic code psychopathically.
Oh, okay.
The terrors off of Inquisition.
Terrors. The demons?
The terrors.
The Lansky.
That's what they look
Okay.
like right there. That's what the Banshee looks like.
Fuck that.
It's the terrors.
But see right there at the top,
Yeah.
that's just a regular Asari.
Yeah. I know what they look like.
Yeah.
They are always guaranteed to be female, I'm pretty sure. Because even when you're female Shepherd, they are all women.
Okay.
So,
It would be interesting if they did change him to male if you chose a female.
dude, that fucking literally ruined 90% of the lore I know.
Well, yeah, I just
It
like
would-
if they changed
if
they had the lore that way.
Yes, it would
That,
make
that would be interesting. But
It would
this
be.
is still interesting in itself.
I mean, I don't know. Mass Effect is one of the lores that I actually like deep dived into a little bit because I really played 3 like through and through like 20 plus times.
I wouldn't say I deep dived into Elder Scrolls, but I just kept going down and down and down the chain. And
Well, me and you sat through. I don't know if anyone else was there, but me and you sat through it and actually started reading the wiki
yeah.
that was available,
Yeah.
and we're like,
Oh, so much.
shit.
There's so much even beyond just the base game.
Just beyond the base games, beyond, if I'm assuming books, there's so much lore written in just into the wiki. It's like, son of a bitch. But like, that's kind of how Mass Effect is, because Mass Effect, if you actually start reading the codexes that you earn,
Yeah.
you're like, fuck. That's not how that happened, but that's makes sense. Like there's a lot of lore into it. It's fucking beautiful. I love it. I love it so much. What are you over there for?
Shutting off my laptop. Forgot I left it on.
Couldn't you just fucking unplug it and it'll just kill itself?
Fuck that. I don't want that to happen.
It'd probably be.
Did you download Definitive Edition?
I believe so.
Okay, cool.
I could be wrong.
I really want to play it.
I could be wrong.
Because I can't.
Yeah, I know you can't. I think I might still have this Steam discount card though.
Definitive edition of what?
Hey,
AOE.
in there. I'm into that.
Oh.
Because he really wants me to get into AOE, which
Well, I don't want to
No,
force you
it's-
into it because that'll completely ruin it.
I completely get it.
Yeah.
I completely 100% get it. Which it's something that I want to get to in a
I
way,
just
but
wanna
also
make
at
it
the same
really
time.
easy for you to get into.
Well, at the same time, like if I just
What is it?
AOE,
Age of Empires.
Oh yeah.
which
I don't know.
I'm like, what the fuck?
I
is
don't know
AOB?
if you would like it.
I like it. I like it as a game, but like I will never be try hard at it
Yeah.
because
I understand that.
well, like if I come home and I've had a stressful day at work, I just want to shoot people.
Well, yeah.
Like, so that's why FPSs, like Doom.
I mean, they make not to try and get you to
no, I get it.
forcefully play, but they make people create their own scenarios for Age of Empires. Like,
Just shut the fuck up and drink.
there's a game
wanna
mode
change
that they
the
came
taste
out
buds.
with called Empire Wars. You start off in feudal age, and you got resources. I believe you can go straight to Castle Age, but it's right at the start of the action. None of the beginning bullshit.
I actually kind of like the beginning bullshit.
Me too. I
Like,
like it.
I
just don't like the fact that since I'm not good enough, be like, yay, beginning bullshit. Fuck. I just got swarmed.
I'm not good enough to do both. That's why when I like it when we both
Co-op?
do it. Yes. And then I'm just in charge of the military.
You can co-op with a lot of people, by the way. You, Nick, and I could all co-op together.
Which I wouldn't mind that because I think me and Nick both have the military mentality, where we just go fuck shit up.
Dude, that would be amazing.
We fucking harbor as much shit as possible, hold all our troops, and just everything's built up. We're like, okay, full force.
I don't even necessarily do that. I just
I
fucking
just wait until I'm like, yep, I'm gonna hit everything with everything I got.
I just go until I can't fucking go no more. Like if I'm not mistaken, like that's how I typically play.
Typically, you're just like, you just click, troops go over there. They're dead. Jordan, give me more troops.
Granted, I'm also getting a little bored because I'm just sitting there watching you play, which is understandable. Like I'm not.
That's why I want you to get better at it. That way you can be like, I'm playing.
I don't progress as fast as you do.
Well, I actually put effort into learning hotkeys and what actions I should take. Whereas you're just like, yeah,
I
I'm
probably
doing
shouldn't be the
stuff.
closest one to the camera because I got ass.
Now I'm gonna say this. It's not in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it is, but it's not. I don't want to say relatable, but it is like Spore.
Yeah.
The way Spore kind of laid itself out.
I have a love-hate relationship with Spore.
Because you can't run on your feet.
I love the beginning stages, like where you're going. I like it up until you get to space.
Yeah, space just takes forever. I always almost get past the space stage, but it just feels like you can get the space stage so fucking quick.
Yeah.
You know, but I like the build up of that because you build your troops and all that stuff. You build your resources.
I liked creating my race and everything.
Now,
And I got the space. I'm like, yeah, this game just doesn't hold the magic for me.
Which
anymore.
is the standard which is the standard fucking overall like review of.
Okay, like that's how a lot of people
That's
feel.
yes. Woo! That stinks.
well, the with building up your troops and everything, I think that let's say tribal and city stage. The tribal and city stage, I think, would be the thing be closest related to.
It's orange, right? Orange?
I don't know. They almost went down the wrong tube.
It's orange.
It's very tangerine-y.
It's very
It
orange.
does taste
it's
pretty
very it's
citrusy.
very citrus. I say this is a good spot to stop. Just so I know
That's
how
fine,
much I
that's
have.
fine. But
You